First things first, Johnny. We've got a signing to talk about, and that's Andrew Benintendi. He's here on a very lengthy deal, a franchise record deal, if you will. Give 5 years, was that $75 million? That comes in just slightly above Yasmani Grandal, who is definitely one of both of your guys' favorite players. So he takes the record, and there's a lot of mixed feelings about this. I think we should go round table. And I'll get your guys' reactions first to this. I already know what Steve's is going to be, so I'm going to start with Johnny.
Let's look at it for what it is. On paper, this is also the big thing. I'm always going to disclaim that. On paper, feels a need, right? We've been talking about a left-handed bat. We've been talking about an outfielder that's actually an outfielder. And it's been, kind of throw shit at the wall, see what sticks when you're talking about the Nomar Mazara experiment, the trade for AJ Pollock. Obviously, I think that could have turned out better than it did. But either way, neither of those worked out and end up just being 1-year projects here. Well, guess what? When you sign Andrew Benintendi, you know he's going to be here for 5 years because that's what the deal is for. So he's going to be out there presumably manning left field for the foreseeable future for your White Sox. So on paper, fits a need, Tony. I put out a tweet shortly after the signing, though, and I just can't. I got to live by my motto: don't get up for the letdown, because I liked the Benintendi signing. I also liked the AJ Pollock trade. I liked the Craig Kimbrell trade at the time. I liked trading for Cesar Hernandez at the time. Obviously, you go and make arguments where those guys fits, where they just bust, regardless, just waiting to fall off a cliff. Obviously, they did, both Kimbrell and Hernandez in that regard. But I'm just going to see how it plays out, because there's not much else I can do except sit back and hope this, on paper, fill a need, actually fills the need in reality. So that's just my
you've got some recency bias, and Johnny, I will say I understand exactly where you're at with that. I think that we've been let down enough that people should probably heed your advice on this one and not get up for the letdown. I mean, that's right. What you've been preaching for years. Steve, what do you got on this Andrew Benintendi franchise record deal?
My initial reaction is Paul Giff. Meh. There's pluses and minuses to this. Look, does he fill a need in terms of providing left-handed balance in the lineup? Yes. Is he a guy that has had a walk rate around 10% for a good majority of his career, which this team needs? Yes. Power numbers are declining precipitously over the last couple of years. If you go back 2018, 2019, this was a 40 double guy that was, 55 extra base hits a year. He has not been that guy for several years now. If he can turn back into that guy, that would be very valuable for this team. There's been a couple of articles. There was one on Fangraphs and one through The Athletic here earlier today, kind of talking about some potential swing changes and how the ballpark at 35th and Shields might be beneficial to his swing from maybe unlocking some of his power potential. I think that's basically what the team has to be banking on at this point here, because, 5 years for a guy that is not going to provide you with a tremendous amount of power, with varying defensive efficiency, depending on which metric you really look at, that's pretty steep, if we're being honest. So there's good and bad to come with this contract. I think at the end of the day, Andrew Benintendi is a guy that should be more of a complementary player to a team that portends to have championship aspirations, not a main character on the team. So we'll ultimately see kind of what happens here. But at the end of the day, it's not something that for me moves the needle a tremendous amount. But you're right in the sense that it does fill a need and provides at least a level of competency that we haven't had previously.
Yeah, actually, Steve, I think that was a very fair assessment that you gave there. I was expecting a little bit more negativity coming from you on the signing here, but I think that this
he's trying to avoid his cold treatment later.
Yeah, he's really trying to get ahead of things later on in the show, Johnny. I don't know what's going on here, but I think that if you guys look on Twitter over the past couple of days, specifically around this signing, I think it's really been sort of a polarizing move by the White Sox, because I've seen a lot of hate towards Andrew Benintendi. And I want to go back and just rewind a little bit here. This was a name that was uh, included in some of the Chris Sale deals. This was a guy that the White Sox have been linked to for a long time. It feels very textbook, almost Kenny always gets his guy in the end type of thing. And you can play to those narratives, or you can sit here and say that the White Sox made this signing and it was bad or good. There's a lot at play. But what I don't want to go into the season with is some sort of false narrative that Andrew Benintendi was a bad signing. There's a lot of layers, as I said, and one of them is the contract that he has and the length in that contract that he got. 5 years. That's a long time. Granted, what is he, 28, 29 right now, going into 29-year season, Johnny, I think it is. So it's not as long as what you're seeing a lot of these other stars go get. Obviously, it's another contract that the White Sox have signed that is under $100 million. And I feel like that's sort of that sticking point that we have as White Sox fans, where we want to see them cross that threshold. I think, Steve, you kind of actually nailed it when you said he's a fine signing, but he doesn't really move the needle. But I will say, to me, it moves the needle in the aspect of he's an improvement over what we've seen in the outfield. And I feel like we as White Sox fans, it's sad that we're here, but we as White Sox fans can't appreciate this signing for what it is.